What's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's time for another accessibility review. We are coming up on a very busy time for game releases, so definitely expect more of these in the coming months. But today I'm going to be focusing on the brand new Surgeon Simulator 2 from Boss Studios that I got some time to play with this week. As usual, I'll be focusing on the things that I personally struggle with, most of which fall under cognitive accessibility, but if you're interested in other kinds of accessibility, I will link some of these in the description below. Surgeon Simulator 2 is the sequel to the wonderfully chaotic and hilarious 2013 game, and this time it comes with full player co-op and a level creation mode. The tutorial does a really good job of teaching you the basics in a really fun way. I really love the little posters on the wall that tell you the controls and prompt you to take those actions that you need to do to progress further. It teaches you each control as and when you need them, which is really important for learning, and the learning curve feels pretty good. The missions gradually get a bit more complex each time, and I never felt too out of my depth, so that was really great. The game uses standard keyboard and mouse controls, some of which I found quite tricky, especially having to hold down both buttons on the mouse for extended periods of time. There doesn't seem to be an option to toggle these holds, which is a shame, and there isn't currently any controller support, which is a big blow to people with mobility needs who absolutely need their custom controller set up in order to actually play games. According to the Surgeon Simulator website, at launch the game will only support keyboard and mouse input. We expect this to expand in the future, so who knows, this may be something that's coming a little further down the line. I personally really hope so. The subtitles are pretty good, the font is super clear and they come with a slightly transparent background, so there's a pretty good contrast, but they can't be resized or changed in any way. I played this on the screen in my office and from 6 feet away on my TV downstairs, and I was actually able to read the text, which is a lot better than many of the AAA games that I've played in the past, so it's not bad. There aren't any mission objectives on the screen, but the narrator does remind you regularly, which is great if you forget what you were doing easily or you weren't listening properly in the first place. However, it would be great if the game reminded you in the pause menu or something like that. Relying on the narrator assumes that players manage to process the information and or read the subtitles as they appear on screen. If you read too slow or you don't process the information in time, you might well miss what the narrator's saying and be running around like a headless chicken. It doesn't look like there's any hint system in place, which can make some of the puzzles a little bit tricky for players that are struggling. Being able to turn hints on or off would be really beneficial here, and I would love to see that. Finally, and I feel like this is one that I never stop talking about, is motion sickness. As you've probably noticed by now, the camera has a sort of fish lens effect, which means that the edges warp as you move around the world. I get that the game's trying to make you feel a bit disorientated and confused, but this camera effect made me really sick. So for my next play session, I experimented with the field of view settings. Now, usually with things like first-person shooters, I have to have the field of view up really high to help with motion sickness, but in this game, having the field of view a lot lower actually meant that the warping on the edges of the screen was a lot better. I couldn't actually see where the warping started. I did still get motion sick on my second play session, but it definitely felt a lot better to look at, so I strongly suggest if you are prone to motion sickness, have a bit of a play around with the field of view settings and see what kind of setup works for you personally. Obviously, coming from a relatively small studio, I didn't expect a huge number of accessibility settings, but there are definitely things that are lacking in terms of cognitive accessibility. But I think they did really well with the onboarding and the tutorial stuff. I did really enjoy what I got to play of it before my motion sickness got too bad. And I would definitely recommend picking it up if you like a little bit of chaos. It was good fun. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will be back real soon with more cognitive accessibility stuff, so if there are any questions you'd like me to answer, please feel free to leave me a comment or drop me a line on Twitter, and I'll see you soon.